Didn't speak to my mom for 7 years. Not a call, not a card, nothing. That all changed the day I pulled into my driveway and saw her on the front porch steps, clutching a faded photo of me at age 5. Her hands shook as she held it tight. The late afternoon sun cast long shadows across the wood, highlighting the lines etched deep into her face. She looked smaller somehow, worn down by time I hadn't witnessed. When our eyes met, she whispered, "I didn't know where else to go." My heart raced. He'd gone no contact after a childhood full of chaos, her moods swinging wild like storms I couldn't predict. By 18, I'd built walls to protect myself from the emotional abuse, the yelling that left scars no one could see. Years of silence followed, a quiet peace I'd fought hard to earn, yet it still ached on quiet nights. But there she sat, an estranged parent showing up unannounced, stirring up old pain. I wanted to turn away to keep those boundaries firm. Instead, something pulled me closer. What came next was her raw apology from a parent I never expected, tied to a diagnosis of early-stage dementia that flipped everything I thought I knew. This is my true story of setting boundaries, facing the past, and discovering what healing from childhood emotional abuse really means when forgiveness isn't simple. It's messy, real, and worth the read if you've ever wondered about breaking the cycle. Growing up in chaos, and why I left at 18 life at home felt like a storm that never cleared. One moment, everything seemed fine. The next, tension filled the air thick as fog. I learned early to read the room, to spot the shift in my mother's voice or the way her shoulders tensed. Those years shaped me in ways I didn't understand until much later. They built a survival instinct that kept me going, but it also left me doubting my own worth. Looking back, I see how that chaos pushed me to pack a bag at 18 and walk away, chasing a life without the constant fear. Good days, bad days, and rules I made to survive. Some mornings started with laughter. My mother would hum old songs while flipping pancakes, her eyes bright and full of stories from her own childhood. Those days felt like a gift, rare and warm, pulling me into a false sense of safety. But they never lasted. By afternoon, a small spill or a forgotten chore could flip the switch. Her words turned sharp, cutting deep with blame I didn't deserve. To cope, I created rules for myself, silent guides that became my shield. Staying quiet topped the list. I spoke only when asked, keeping my thoughts locked away to avoid sparking anger. I kept my room spotless, folding clothes with care and wiping surfaces until they shone. Hopping neatness would buy me peace. Most of all, I watched for signs. A sigh too heavy, a glance that lingered too long, the way her hands clenched around a coffee mug. These clues warned me a fight brewed, giving me time to slip away or brace myself. Those mixed signals messed with my head. On good days, I felt loved like I belonged. Bad days crushed that, making me question if I caused it all. Was I too loud, too messy, too much? That back and forth eroded my sense of self. I stopped trusting my own feelings, always second-guessing if I deserved the warmth or the rage. Friends noticed I pulled back, but I couldn't explain it. Home was my world, and surviving meant adapting to its rules, not mine. Over time, those habits stuck. Even outside that house, I apologized for things that weren't my fault, shrank to fit others' moods. It took years to unlearn, but those rules saved me then. They let me navigate the chaos without breaking completely. The final straw that pushed me out. I turned 18 in the spring, but the real turning point came one humid summer night. Dinner sat half-eaten on the table, the air heavy with unspoken words. My mother started small, a comment about my plans for community college, her tone laced with doubt. It escalated fast. She accused me of wasting her time, her voice rising until plates rattled. I stood frozen in the kitchen, heart pounding like a drum in my chest. My stomach twisted tight, a knot that made it hard to breathe. Sweat beaded on my skin despite the fan whirring overhead. Every word hit like a weight, pressing down until my legs felt weak, urging me to run. But I stayed, rooted by habit, until she slammed her fist on the counter. That sound echoed in my ears long after, a final crack in the wall I'd built around myself. In that moment, clarity hit. My body screamed what my mind had whispered for years. This ends now. The fear mixed with a strange calm, like stepping out of a dark room into light. I grabbed my backpack that night, stuffed it with clothes and a few books, and left before dawn. Driving away, my hands shook on the wheel, but relief washed over me too. Staying meant more of the same, leaving meant a chance to breathe. That scene replayed in my dreams for months, but it freed me. It showed me I could choose safety over suffering, therapy, no contact, and the first breath of peace. After I left, the weight didn't lift right away. Nights brought flashbacks, days filled with doubt about my choice. I found a cheap apartment and a part-time job, but the chaos lingered inside me. Therapy became my lifeline. I sat in that small office week after week, unpacking the years of emotional abuse. The counselor helped me name it, to see how my mother's moods weren't my burden to carry. Choosing no contact felt like the hardest step, but it was necessary. I blocked her number, ignored letters, created space to heal. No contact isn't for everyone. Some find peace in limited talks or slow repairs. That's okay, whatever protects your heart. For me, it meant silence at first, a quiet that scared me but soon soothed. Therapy taught me to set boundaries, simple rules like saying no without guilt or trusting my own voice. Those sessions rewired me. I learned to spot red flags in relationships to build self-worth from within. The first real peace came months in during a walk alone by the river. The sun warmed my face, and for once no tension coiled in my gut. I breathed deep, felt light. It wasn't perfect. Grief for the mother I wished for still tugged. But therapy gave tools to handle it, to live without the old fear. No contact validated my right to safety. It let me reclaim my life, one steady step at a time. If you're in that place, know it's brave to choose yourself. Healing starts there. 7 years of silence and the ache that did not leave. Those 7 years stretched out like empty rooms in a house I once called home. I built a life without her shadow, found friends who listened without judgment, and chased goals that lit me up inside. Yet the silence carried its own weight, a quiet pull back to what could have been. Every milestone whispered her absence, testing the peace I'd claimed. It wasn't just about the fights or the leaving. It was the slow burn of missing a bond that never fully formed. Holidays, birthdays, and the ghost of what I wanted. Thanksgiving came quiet that first year. I gathered with friends around a table laden with turkey and pie, laughter filling the air as stories flowed. Relief settled in my chest, no tense silences or sudden outbursts to dodge. I savored the warmth, free to relax without scanning for storms. But as plates cleared, a pang hit me. I pictured her alone in that old kitchen, maybe stirring a pot with no one to share it. Sorrow tugged, sharp and brief, for the family scenes I dreamed of as a kid. My 30th birthday landed on a crisp fall day 4 years in. I treated myself to a solo hike, the trail winding through red leaves that crunched underfoot. At the summit, wind whipping my hair, I felt strong, whole in my own skin. No expectations, no drama, just me celebrating the woman I'd become. Joy mixed with the fresh air, real and earned. Still, halfway down, I paused at a viewpoint. The ache surfaced again, soft as fog, imagining her voice wishing me well. It faded with each step, but it lingered like an echo. Why many people choose distance. People cut ties with family for reasons that hit close to home. Repeated harm wears down the spirit, turning what should be safe into a source of pain. Broken trust builds walls as promises shatter and words lose meaning over time. Emotional safety becomes the top priority. Without it, healing stays out of reach. These choices stem from a deep need to protect the self, to stop the cycle before it deepens. You're not alone in this. Stats show family estrangement touches many lives. About 24% of adults distance from a sibling, often after years of rivalry or unresolved grudges. For parents, it's around 16%, with adult children usually making the call to step back. Estrangement from a child affects 10% of parents, where the younger one draws the line. Grandparents face it in 9% of cases, typically initiated by grandchildren seeking space. Even with grandchildren, 6% report growing apart, leaving gaps that ache. These numbers remind us it's common, a quiet response to patterns that no longer serve. What kept me away? Fear of slipping back into old patterns held me firm, those familiar traps of blame and blow-ups that once defined our talks. I guarded the new peace I'd carved out, a steady calm in my days that felt too precious to risk. Lack of change sealed it. Without her owning the hurt or shifting her ways, reconnection seemed like a setup for more of the same. I chose my well-being over false hope, honoring the girl who left at 18 by staying gone. The day she was on my porch with a photo of me, that spring afternoon hit like a punch I never saw coming. I pulled into the driveway after a long shift, my mind on dinner and a quiet evening. There she sat on the front porch steps, my mother, after 7 years of nothing. She gripped a faded photo of me at 5, her knuckles white. The sight froze me in place, old wounds cracking open as the sun dipped low. Fight or flight on the front steps. My keys dug into my palm as I gripped them tight. Heat rushed to my face, a flush that burned from neck to cheeks. I stood at the car door, heart slamming against my ribs, every nerve screaming to run or yell. The porch steps loomed like a line I swore never to cross again. She rose slowly, photo trembling in her hands, and our eyes locked. Part of me wanted to drive away, tires screeching on the pavement. Another part, buried deep, held me there. The air thickened with the scent of blooming jasmine, but all I felt was the pull of fight or flight, raw and real, the long silence and the first words. I nodded once and unlocked the door, letting her step inside without a word. The living room fell still, dust motes dancing in the fading light. I moved to the kitchen, filled the kettle, and set it on the stove. The soft hiss built as we sat across from each other, her hands twisting in her lap, mine flat on the table to hide the shake. Minutes stretched, heavy with unspoken years. She shifted, fingers tracing the photo's edge, then looked up. "I'm sorry," she said, voice steady. No reasons, no blame shifted to me or anyone else. Just those two words hanging in the steam from the boiling water, early-stage dementia and a hard truth. She slid the photo across the table, her eyes duller than I remembered. "The doctor said it's early-stage dementia," she told me, words flat. The room shifted then, air turning thick with a new weight. I nodded, processing the news that explained her lost look but erased nothing from before. The harm she caused lingered, sharp as ever, those years of chaos not wiped clean by illness. Yet here she was, needing help in ways I couldn't ignore. Dementia doesn't fix the past, it just adds layers to the present mess. I sat with both truths, the girl I was and the woman before me, no easy answers in sight. What I said and what I did not. Words piled up in my throat, questions about the fights, the leaving, all the pain she left behind. I could have let them spill, demanded she face it all. But I stayed quiet, reached across the table instead and took her hand. Her skin felt cool, fragile. That touch said enough, a boundary I set by choosing silence over storm. It bridged something small too, a start without forcing fixes. Readers, if you've been there, you know, sometimes holding back builds more than words ever could. We sat like that, the photo between us as the day faded out, rebuilding with boundaries, not fantasy. After that first tense hour in my kitchen, with her apology hanging in the air like a fragile truce, I knew we couldn't rush back to some perfect family picture. 7 years of silence had carved deep lines between us, and her dementia added a layer of uncertainty I couldn't ignore. Rebuilding meant starting small, with firm lines drawn to protect the peace I'd earned. It wasn't about fairy tale fixes or forgetting the hurt. It was about testing the waters, step by cautious step, to see if real change could take root. I chose boundaries over blind hope, and that choice turned our fragile restart into something steady, small rituals that helped us start. We began with short visits, just 1 hour at a time, to keep things from overwhelming us both. I picked neutral spots at first, like a quiet park bench or a corner coffee shop, where the open space made it easier to breathe if things felt off. We stuck to light topics, chatting about the weather, her favorite old movies, or simple updates on my day, nothing that dug into old wounds right away. Before each meetup, I'd send a quick check-in text, something like "see you at 2. Let me know if that works," to confirm and set a calm tone from the start. These rituals felt simple, almost too basic, but they built trust without pressure. Her dementia made her forgetful sometimes, so the structure helped her too, giving her clear anchors in the day. I found myself looking forward to those hours, not as a full reunion, but as small bridges over the gap. Kindness guided us. I reminded myself she was trying, and so was I, one gentle step at a time. The rules that kept me safe. Clear rules became our foundation, simple lines I shared up front to guard my heart while opening the door a crack. They weren't punishments. They were shields, born from years of learning what I needed to stay whole. No yelling or raised voices. This stops old fights from sparking and keeps our talks calm. No insults or blame. Words like that reopen scars, so we focus on the now instead. I can end the visit anytime. If tension builds, I walk away without guilt to protect my peace. No surprise visits. Planned time only builds trust and lets me prepare mentally. Therapy stays private. What I share in sessions remains mine, avoiding pressure to disclose. No requests for money or favors. This keeps our bond about connection, not obligation. We skip the past unless we both agree. Old stories wait for therapy, preventing raw pain in casual chats. Each rule mattered because it honored my healing first. Sticking to them turned our time together into safe ground, where I could relax instead of brace. Apology versus repair. An apology is just words, a starting point that says, I see the hurt I caused, but it fades without action behind it. Repair, though, shows up in steady behavior over months, proving change through how someone acts day after day. It's the quiet proof that words mean something real. Look for tiny signs of repair, like her remembering our agreed time without prompting, which showed effort despite her dementia fog. Or when she paused during a chat to ask if I felt okay, putting my comfort first in a way she never did before. These small shifts built my trust slowly. Red flags screamed to pull back, though. If she slipped into old blame, like hinting the past was my fault too, it erased progress and stirred doubt. Or if visits dragged on past our limit without respect, pushing my boundaries that meant old patterns lingered. Spot these and step away. True repair respects your limits every time. When not to reconnect and how to protect yourself. Not every story ends with cautious steps forward. If abuse continues, like fresh threats or stalking that chills your safety, stay no contact and reach out for help right away. Ongoing harm doesn't heal with time, it deepens. Run a quick safety check. Do you feel secure in your choices? Does she respect your space without pushback? If doubt creeps in, pause and prioritize your well-being. Build a safety plan with a trusted friend or professional, outlining steps like blocking numbers or alerting neighbors if needed. Lean on a support network, people who get the ache of estranged families and cheer your strength. For guidance, search therapist directories like Psychology Today to find experts in family trauma. Call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233 for confidential advice and safety tips, available 24/7. Join support groups through sites like LiveWell with Sharon Martin, which offers free resources and communities for adult children of toxic parents. The Adult Children of Alcoholics and Dysfunctional Families group provides stories and tools too. These steps aren't weakness, they're smart moves to keep you standing tall. Breaking the cycle started with me. That moment in my kitchen, with her hand in mine and the photo on the table, didn't erase the past. It cracked open a door I thought I'd sealed shut forever. But true change? It came from inside me, not from her words or her illness. I had to break the cycle of hurt, the one she'd passed down like a heavy chain. This meant facing the grief, rebuilding my own foundation, and learning to stand firm when old shadows returned. Only then could I step forward without dragging the pain behind, grieving the mom I imagined. The mother I dreamed of lived in my head as a soft presence, always there with open arms and steady words. She baked cookies on rainy days and cheered at every small win, never letting doubt creep in. But reality never matched that picture, and after 7 years apart, the gap hit hard. I had to let her go, not with anger, but with a quiet ache that deserved space. One evening, I sat at my desk with a notebook and a single candle flickering nearby. I wrote a letter to that imagined mom, pouring out the wishes I'd held since childhood, the hugs I craved, the pride I longed to hear. Words flowed about the holidays we never shared, the advice I needed but missed. I folded the pages tight, slipped them into an envelope, and sealed it without an address. Then I tucked it into a small wooden box, alongside a few faded photos from better days, like the one of us at the park when I was 8. That box sits on my shelf now, a tender marker of goodbye. I visit it on tough days, touch the wood, and feel the weight lift a little. Grief like this heals slow, but rituals make it real. They remind you it's okay to mourn what never was, while you build what can be, reparenting in daily life. I couldn't wait for someone else to fix the broken parts she left behind. So I became my own parent, starting with the basics that her chaos had stolen. These small acts rebuilt trust in myself, one day at a time. They broke the old patterns of neglect and self-doubt. Eat 3 meals a day, no skipping. I planned simple ones like oatmeal in the morning or a salad at lunch to fuel my body without the rush that once ruled me. Sleep comes first. I set a bedtime and stick to it, pulling covers up early to chase 8 full hours. Movement clears my head, so I walk the block after dinner, feeling my steps steady my thoughts. Speak to yourself with kindness. When doubt whispers, I counter it. You did your best today. Keep promises you make to yourself, big or small, like reading that book chapter before bed. These habits stack up. They turn survival into care, showing me I deserve the stability I provide. Setbacks, then small wins. Triggers don't vanish overnight. They sneak back on quiet days or during family talks with friends, pulling me toward old fears. One afternoon, a call from an old neighbor stirred memories of her rages. My chest tightened and I almost dialed her number out of habit. But I paused, closed my eyes and breathed deep, counting to 10. That breath reminded me of the peace I'd built. I chose a walk instead, letting the air wash away the pull. Small wins follow those pauses. During one visit with her, tension rose when she forgot our rule about no past talk. My gut twisted, ready to snap back into defense. I breathed again, said, "Let's stick to now," and shifted to chatting about her garden. She nodded and we laughed over a shared tea. That moment felt like victory. It proved I could steer us toward calm, not chaos. Each win strengthens the path, turning slips into steps forward. If an estranged parent knocks on your door, she showed up unannounced that day, but if it happens again or to you, have a plan ready. Don't rush into the moment. Your safety and peace come first. These steps keep control in your hands. Take a breath before you open the door. Call a trusted friend right then, put them on speaker for support. Suggest a public spot like a coffee shop down the street where you can leave easy if needed. Set a time limit up front, say 30 minutes and stick to it. Write your rules on a note in your pocket. No yelling, no blame, respect my space. Trust your gut. If it screams wrong, end it there. Leave if you feel unsafe, no questions asked. Remember, no stands alone. You owe nothing to the past. This plan protects your heart, letting you decide from strength, not surprise. Conclusion. That day on the porch, with the faded photo clutched in her trembling hands, pulled me back to the start of it all. 7 years of silence shattered in an instant, her eyes pleading for a chance I almost denied. We sat across from each other in the kitchen, steam rising from that first cup of tea, words finally breaking free after so long bottled up. Healing from emotional scars demands more than apologies. It calls for boundaries that guard your peace while opening space for change. Love can be real, and so can limits. Her dementia diagnosis forced me to face the past without letting it swallow me whole. I chose small steps, firm rules, and self-care that broke the cycle she once trapped me in. If this story stirs something in you, share your own in the comments below. Or tonight, grab a pen and write that letter to the younger you, the one who deserved better. Picture us all, years from now, sipping tea on our own porches, surrounded by the calm we've built, hearts lighter under a setting sun.